Friends, welcome to Binary Tips, and today we are going to discuss chapter-wise important questions from pre-board papers that I've collected from few schools. So let's get started. So the 1 mark questions we'll see first, and then we'll proceed with 2 marks, 3 marks and 5 marks. So in 1 mark question they have asked the breakdown of pyruvate to give carbon dioxide, water and energy. Okay, it takes place in the cytoplasm, nucleus, chloroplast, mitochondria. So the correct answer will be mitochondria. Alright. So this is from your life processes chapter. The next question is the main function of abscisic acid in plants is to inhibit growth, to promote cell division, to promote the growth of the stem and to increase the length of the cells. So here the correct answer will be to inhibit the growth. So as you all know that auxin is involved in the cell division, then growth of the stem is done by gibberellins, and to increase the length of the cells, that is also done with the help of gibberellins. Cell division is also promoted by cytokinins, but the inhibition of growth is done by abscisic acid. Okay, next question. While observing binary fission in amoeba, 4 students recorded their observations that in binary fission, the parent nucleus and cytoplasm follow the following process. Okay, so in the last video, I have explained you about the binary fission in amoeba. So there's a mother amoeba or the parent cell that first undergoes karyokinesis, that is the division of the nucleus, followed by the division of the cytoplasm. Alright, so here they have given you options: first division of the nucleus and then the equal distribution of cytoplasm to daughter cells, division of cytoplasm and nucleus at the same time, first division of the nucleus and then unequal distribution of cytoplasm to daughter cells, first division of cytoplasm and then the nucleus. So as you can see here, will come from the last. First division of cytoplasm and then the nucleus is the wrong option, because as you all know, first the nucleus divides, alright, then followed by the cytoplasm. Next, first division of the nucleus and then unequal distribution of cytoplasm to daughter cells, which is also a wrong option, because as you all know, binary fission leads to the equal distribution, right? It's the identical copy of one another, and also it should be similar to the parent. So here this option is also wrong. Then division of nucleus and cytoplasm at the same time, this is also wrong. First nucleus divides, then cytoplasm will divide. So if you see this correctly, then it will be the first one. The first option will be the correct option. Alright, I hope you have understood this. Moving on to the next. So 2 pea plants, one with round green seeds and another with wrinkled yellow seeds, produce F1 progeny that have round yellow seeds. When F1 plants are selfed, the F2 progeny will have a new combination of characters. So you have to read this question thoroughly to understand that they have given you 2 pea plants. One is with round and green, and the other one is having wrinkled yellow. Alright. So, when you cross these two, the product that you receive in the F1 generation is RRYY, which is round and yellow. Now, when you self it, when you go for self pollination, you see that you receive 4 types of gametes, right? So, what are they? That will be round and yellow. The next one will be round, wrinkled and yellow. Then you will have round and green, and then you have wrinkled and green. Okay. Now, what are they trying to ask you here is, when F1 plants are selfed, the F2 progeny will have a new combination of characters. That is, if you see these 4 combinations, Capital R, capital Y is round yellow, which is something new from that of the parent. The parents are round green and wrinkled yellow. Wrinkled yellow. Whereas if you see here, the new ones, the new combination that is different from the parents are round yellow and wrinkled green. So you will be writing round yellow and wrinkled green. So here the options 1 and 2, round yellow, round green is wrong. 1 and 3, round yellow and wrinkled green. Wrinkled yellow, this is also wrong. C, round green and wrinkled yellow, that is also wrong. So the last option 1 and 4, round yellow and wrinkled green will be the right answer. So you will be writing those two combinations which are very different from the whatever they have mentioned about the parent character. Okay, I hope you have understood this. Moving on to the next question. Which of the following events in the mouth cavity will be affected if salivary amylase is lacking in the saliva? Starch breakdown into sugar, protein breakdown into amino acids, absorption of vitamins, fats breaking down into fatty acids and glycerol. So as you all know that salivary amylase, also known as ptyalin, is helpful in the conversion of starch into simple sugar, right? So here, without any doubt, the first option will be the right option. All right? Okay. Moving forward, which of the following statements are true about respiration? Hemoglobin has higher affinity for carbon dioxide than oxygen. Gaseous exchange takes place in the alveoli. During inhalation, ribs move inward and diaphragm is raised. Hemoglobin has higher affinity for oxygen than carbon dioxide. So as you all know that hemoglobin has the capacity to carry oxygen than carbon dioxide. Okay, so it carries more oxygen than carbon dioxide. So the first option will be the wrong one. Then the gaseous exchange takes place in the alveoli. This is a correct statement because as you all know, alveoli are balloon-like structures or air-filled cavities or air-like, bubbles-like structure which are present in your lungs where gaseous exchange takes place and it is supplied richly with blood vessels for more absorption of oxygen. Okay. During inhalation, ribs move inward and diaphragm is raised, which is a wrong statement. When you inhale, your ribs move outward and the diaphragm is flattened. Usually the structure of the diaphragm is a dome-shaped structure. Okay. It is in the relaxed condition. But when you inhale, due to the excess of air, okay, what happens is, due to the excess of air, you can see that this dome-shaped structure flattens. So here this option is also wrong. Moving on to the next option, hemoglobin has greater affinity for oxygen than carbon dioxide, which is a correct statement. So here if you see, the option B and D will be the correct option. Alright, moving forward. Process of conversion of light energy to chemical energy and splitting of water molecules into hydrogen and oxygen in plants is known as photosynthesis, photoperiodism, plant nutrition, plant hormone functions. So you have studied in the chapter life processes that there are 3 steps involved in photosynthesis. The first step is to trap the energy or the absorption of the light energy, right, using chlorophyll. Then conversion of this light energy into chemical energy and splitting of water. Okay, and the third step is reduction of the carbon dioxide to form a carbohydrate. Okay, so this definition is of photosynthesis. These are the steps which are involved in the process of photosynthesis. Okay. A cross between a tall plant and a short pea plant resulted in a progeny that were all tall because tallness is a dominant trait shortness is the dominant trait, tallness is the recessive trait, and height of the pea plant is not governed by a gene. So when you cross a tall plant with a short plant, you see that the progeny that you receive, all the plants were tall. Now the reason is that tallness is a dominant trait. Okay, it has the power to express itself even in the absence of the other trait, right? Other gene. So tallness is a dominant trait, and that is the reason the one which appears more, or the one which you can see more, which character you can see more, will be the dominant trait. I hope you have understood this. Moving on to the next question. The growth of tendril in pea plants is due to effect of light, effect of gravity, rapid cell division in tendrilar cells that are away from the support, and rapid cell divisions in the tendrilar cells in contact with the support. So the correct answer is C. This is from the activity that is there in your textbook in the chapter Control and Coordination. You can refer to that. Okay. Which among the following statements are true for sexual reproduction in flowering plants? So sexual reproduction in flowering plants, it could be with the help of self-pollination, or it could be with the help of cross-pollination. Now let us have a look at the options. It requires two types of gametes. Fertilization is a compulsory event. It always results in formation of gametes, a zygote, and offsprings formed are clones. So it requires two types of gametes, which is a true statement. It's a correct statement. Whenever you say sexual reproduction, it means that two types of gametes or two parents are involved. Right? Okay. Fertilization is a compulsory event. Only when it fertilizes, then only it will lead to the formation of a zygote. Right? So fertilization is a compulsory event. It always results in formation of zygote. So whenever fertilization is taking place between those gametes, a zygote is formed. That is also a correct statement. Here, the fourth statement says, offsprings formed are clones. Now, just now I mentioned that in sexual reproduction in flowering plants, it can be with the help of self-pollination or cross-pollination. But if it is self-pollination, then only the offsprings are formed, they are clones. But if the pollination is a cross-pollination, then the offsprings are not clones, right? They cannot be clones because variations are present, because the flowers belong to two different plants. So in such case, offsprings formed cannot be clones. So here, this option is the wrong statement. Okay, so the correct option will be 1 and 4, 1, 2 and 4, 1, 2 and 3, 1, 3 and 4. So here the correct option will be 1, 2 and 3. That is the option C. Alright. Moving forward. Okay, so here are some assertion and reason based questions which can be asked. So assertion: left ventricle of the human heart has a bicuspid valve. Reason: left ventricle is smaller as compared to the right ventricle. Okay, so if you see the structure of the heart, you can see that left ventricle of the human heart has a bicuspid valve, okay, which is true. But if you see that left ventricle is more thicker, it is more thicker when compared to right ventricle, as the left ventricle receives blood from the lungs after oxygenation, right? So left ventricle cannot be smaller. So here assertion is true, but reason is false. Okay, so the assertion is true, but reason is false. Okay, moving on to the next question. Assertion: the sex of a child is determined by the chromosomes received from the father. Reason: mother is heterogametic. Okay, so here they say that the sex of a child is determined by the chromosomes that is received from the father, which is true. So whenever you see the female carries XX and the male carry XY chromosome, and this Y chromosome is responsible to decide the gender. If Y chromosome fuses with the X chromosome of the mother, then it leads to the formation of a male. If the X chromosome of the father fuses with that of the mother, then it leads to the formation of a female. So always the fathers are responsible for the gender, to determine the gender. So this statement is true. Now the next reason statement says that mother is heterogametic. Now just now I told you that mother carries two chromosomes which are very similar. So this is homogametic and it is not heterogametic. Alright. So they are of the same type. Whereas father, if you see, father is having X chromosome and one Y chromosome. This condition is called heterogametic. Whereas mother is homogametic. Okay, so this statement is false. So the assertion is true, whereas the reason is false. Okay, moving on to the next statement. Assertion dominant allele is an allele whose phenotype expresses even in the presence of another allele of that gene. Reason, it is represented by a capital letter. Dominant allele is an allele whose phenotype expresses even in the presence of another allele of that gene. Reason, it is represented by capital letter T. So here you can see that both assertion and reason are true, and reason is the correct explanation of the assertion. Next. Assertion, in plants water is transported through xylem. Reason, it is because sieve tubes are absent in phloem. Okay, so assertion is true but reason is false because sieve tubes are a part of phloem and they help in the transport of food and not water. Okay, so here assertion is true whereas your reason is false. Moving on to the next question, 2 marks. The first question is, give reason regeneration is not considered as a method of reproduction. In the last video, if you refer, you will understand that regeneration is also a method where a few animals like lizards, okay, what they do is they produce the lost organ alone. They do not produce a whole organism from the cut part. So that is the reason it is not considered as a method of reproduction. So I've explained in my video where I have covered the whole chapter for how do organisms reproduce. I'll post the link in the description box. You please have a look at it. Now, spores generally have a thick wall. This also I've explained in that video that spores generally have a thick wall because only when the conditions are favorable for them, they fall on the bread piece or they fall on the place substrate where the moisture is present and they break. Okay, so in order to be protective, okay, in order to have some protection, they have a thick wall around the body. So, in order to withstand the unfavorable conditions, they have a thick wall, okay, like heat, temperature, etc. Now, moving on to the next question. Explain biological magnification with the help of an example. So, biological magnification, as you all know, is the accumulation of toxins, chemicals or pesticides, and it goes on from one organism to another organism through the food chain, and the most of the chemicals or most of the pesticides, it is accumulated abundantly in human beings. So with an example you can write about what is biological magnification, and with the help of an example you can explain using the numbers of like for example 2 ppm of chemicals or 2 ppm of pesticide, something like that, and you can refer to the chapter Our Environment for this question. Moving on to the next, draw a neat labeled diagram of a neuron. So you are expected to draw a neuron. You have to label the cell body, dendrites, then you will have to label axon, myelin sheath, Schwann cells, axon terminal. Okay, so Please make sure that you practice all the diagrams. Moving on to the next question, write two different ways in which glucose is oxidized to provide energy in the human body. Write two products that is formed in each case. So again, you can refer the diagram that is given in your life processes chapter, and the heading says breakdown of glucose. So please refer to this and practice this diagram. It definitely will be asked for 2 marks or 3 marks, and it is a question that is compulsorily asked in all the question papers. So make sure that you practice it. Moving on to the next. What is the function of trachea? Why do walls not collapse even when there is less air in it? So this also you can refer to the chapter life processes respiration part. So what is the function of trachea? Trachea basically is it's a pipe like structure. It's a muscular pipe like structure which helps in the passage of air from the nasal cavity towards the lungs, right? Now, why do walls not collapse even when there is less air in it? The reason is that trachea is basically provided with ring-like structures, C-shaped ring-like structures, cartilaginous rings that help them to hold them even when the air is not present or even when there is less air, so that they don't collapse. Okay. Write one example of negative phototropism and chemotrophism. So negative phototropism means against the sunlight. So you can write about the roots, right? So the roots show negative phototropism. And chemotrophism also you can write. One example of chemotrophism is that you can write about the pitcher plant, you can write about the Venus trap plant. Okay. So refer to the chapter control and coordination for this. Bile juice does not have any digestive enzyme but still plays a significant role in the process of digestion. So bile juice does not have any enzyme but it helps in the emulsification of fats. It still has a very important function in breaking down the fats. Alright. So you can refer to the chapter life processes for this. Differentiate between biodegradable and non-biodegradable substances. This is from the chapter Our Environment. So you can see that the questions from our environment is also asked. So please don't skip that chapter. So it's a very easy question, biodegradable and non-biodegradable substances. You can simply write biodegradable substances are those substances which can be degraded easily, right? It can be degraded with the help of microbes. It does not remain in the soil forever. Whereas non-biodegradable substances, they cannot be destroyed easily and they remain in the soil forever, making the soil toxic, infertile, okay, leading to health hazards. So biodegradable substances, examples are paper. You can write about paper, vegetable peel, animal waste, all these are biodegradable substances, whereas non-biodegradable substances include metals, tins, okay, glass. So all these are non-biodegradable substances. You cannot degrade them, but maybe you can recycle them. Alright. Moving on to the next. Okay. So here they have asked for 3 marks. Draw the schematic diagram showing double circulation of blood in man. Why double circulation is necessary in human beings. So you can draw the diagram that is given in your textbook, or you can refer to the diagram where you can draw it. I'll just show it here. You just have to right ventricle. This is right auricle, right ventricle here. This is left auricle and left ventricle. Now from the different parts of the body, okay, I'm writing here body parts. So from different parts of the body, the blood enters into the right atrium through the superior and the inferior vena cava. Alright. From the right atrium, the blood goes to the lungs for oxygenation with the help of the pulmonary artery. So blood which is deoxygenated blood, it goes from the right atrium to the lungs for oxygenation with the help of pulmonary artery. And after it is oxidized or oxygenation is over, it comes with the help of the pulmonary veins towards the left atrium, and from the left atrium it moves towards the left ventricle, and from there with the help of the biggest artery, aorta, it moves to the different body parts. So you can show this whole flow chart, or you can also refer to the diagram that is given in your textbook, but please don't forget these arrows. So this is called as systemic circulation because the blood is moving from the system to the heart, and this is called as pulmonary circulation because the blood is moving from heart to lungs for the oxygenation purpose. Okay, so you can refer to this diagram. Alright. Now moving forward to the next question, why double circulation is necessary in human beings? Double circulation is very important in human beings because it helps in the separation of oxygenated and deoxygenated blood so that more oxygenated blood can be used by the body. Okay, moving on to the next question. Name the respiratory pigment in human beings and write its role. So the respiratory pigment is hemoglobin. The role you already know, it carries oxygen along with it, right? It helps in carrying oxygen. So that is the main purpose of this respiratory pigment. So this is a 2-mark question and it's a 1-mark question. Draw a diagram of the human respiratory system and label the following parts. So you have to draw the human respiratory system and part through which air is taken in. So the part through which air is taken in, it is from the nasal cavity towards the trachea. So trachea should be labeled. Then the thin muscle below the lungs and heart that separates the chest from the abdomen. So this is your diaphragm. Okay, so label diaphragm. Then the part that carries air into the lungs. The part that carries air into the lungs, here it is trachea. Okay, here it has to be the bronchi, right? Okay. Moving forward, what are alveoli? Mention their role in respiration. So alveoli are bubble-like structures or bag sac-like structures. They help in the exchange of gases. The exchange of gases takes place with the help of diffusion in the alveoli. So you have to write about alveoli and its role. And then in the following food chain, 4,000 joules of energy was available to the plant. How much of energy will be available to the snakes? So here they have given you a food chain. Plants and rats, snakes and hawks. So here they have asked that 4,000 joules of energy is available with the plants. So plants are having 4,000 joules of energy. How much will be available to the snakes? So with the help of 10% law, if you solve 10% of 4,000, that will be 400 joules. So the rats will have 400 joules and the snakes will have 40 joules. Alright. So the correct answer will be 40 joules. So this is a numerical based on the 10% law. Please make sure that you practice them. Okay, so the answer is 40 joules. Moving on to the next question. How is ozone both beneficial and damaging? So ozone is a very protective layer. It's a protective layer that is present at the atmosphere. Okay, and mention which part of the atmosphere it is present. Okay, so how is it beneficial? Only at a particular level, only at a particular stage, ozone is said to be protective. Once it comes down from its level or from the place where it is supposed to be, it is a poisonous gas. It turns out to be a poisonous gas. So you have to write about it. Please refer to the chapter Our Environment for this. Moving on to mention the site of exchange of material between the blood and the surrounding cell. So the place is capillaries. So we have studied that capillaries are junction where the exchange of all the materials takes place. Now, draw a schematic representation of transport and exchange of oxygen and carbon dioxide, or define the term respiration, design an experiment to demonstrate this process. So you can refer the chapter life processes for both the questions. Now moving on to the next question. Define a food chain, design a terrestrial food chain of 4 trophic levels. If a pollutant enters at the producer level, the organism of which trophic level will have the maximum concentration of the pollutant in their bodies? What is a phenomenon known as? So here indirectly they are asking you about the biological magnification. So please make sure that you don't skip the chapter Our Environment and define a food chain. You can define what is a food chain. You can design a food chain of 4 trophic levels, which is very easy. And they are asking for a terrestrial food chain, which is much more easy. Alright, so please make sure that you cover the topic. Next, for 5 marks, they have asked, mention the roles of the following organs of the human male reproductive system. So you can refer my video of the whole chapter that I have covered and you can study that. What are sexually transmitted diseases? Explain any 4 methods of contraception. This also I have explained in my previous video as well as in the video where I have taught you about how do organisms reproduce, sexual reproduction. You can refer to that video and draw the neat label diagram of female reproductive system. Explain what happens to the egg once it gets fertilized in the human female and also mention the functions of placenta. So all these questions you can refer to my videos. Okay, so I have put it in the description box. You can just go and refer it there. Alright, so I hope you have understood till here. The next question is, list any 4 modes of asexual reproduction. Give example of each one of them. Explain any 2 modes of asexual reproduction. This is also very easy. You can explain binary fission, regeneration. You can explain about the fragmentation, spore formation. Okay. Write the functions of ovary, oviduct and uterus. This is also very easy. Describe the structure and function of placenta. Like I told you, placenta is a nutritive disc-like structure or a tissue which is formed only during the gestation period or the pregnancy period, and it helps in the respiration, excretion and all those processes. Okay, describe in short the role of testis, seminal vesicle and vas difference. So again repeatedly they have been asking about the male reproductive system and the female reproductive system. So please make sure you study both of them. Alright. Okay, for 4 marks they usually have a case-based question. So this is a case-based question. So we have to read the passage and you will have to explain you will have to write the answers that are given. Okay, you have to write the answer to the question. Okay, so here this is a passage. Try to read it and find out the answer and do comment it in the comment box and let me know if you have any doubts from this whole video, or if you have any doubts regarding any chapter in biology. Feel free to ask me and put it in the comment box so that it will be helpful for me to make any videos. So I hope this video was helpful for you all. Subscribe to Binet Tips, share it with your friends and don't forget to like the video. Thanks for watching Binet Tips.